You know that feeling? You come home, you just want to live your life, and there it is in your mailbox. Another letter from the HOA. A fine for something you didn't even know was a rule. A demand to change something on your property. A threat over something trivial. They think you'll just pay it. They think you'll just comply. They think you have no power. They thought I was powerless too. Today I'm going to show you exactly how wrong they were. This isn't just my story, this is a blueprint. A step-by-step guide for anyone who's ever been pushed around by a homeowners association that's forgotten who it actually works for. It started with a playset. Nothing crazy. My kids wanted a swing and a slide. I checked the bylaws, no mention of playsets. I built it. A week later the notice arrived, unauthorized structure. Must be removed within 14 days or face daily fines. I called. I was polite. I referenced the bylaws. The board president's response? We don't like how it looks. It's our discretion. Take it down or pay up. That was the spark. That moment when I realized this wasn't about rules, it was about control. And it's a feeling thousands of homeowners know all too well. Before we fight, we need to understand their playbook. HOAs often rely on a few common tactics to keep homeowners in line. Recognizing these is step 1. Tactic 1, the ambush fine. You're fined for obscure, unwritten, or misinterpreted rules. My unauthorized structure is a classic example. Tactic 2, selective enforcement. Rules are enforced for you, but not for the board president's friend with the unapproved shed or the always loud RV. This bias destroys community trust. Tactic 3, communication blackout. Information is scarce. Meetings are announced last minute. Decisions are made behind closed doors. How can you follow rules you don't know? Tactic 4, financial pressure. They threaten liens and fines, knowing that for most people the cost and fear of legal action is enough to force compliance. But here's the secret they don't want you to know: their power is not absolute. It's bounded by a legal framework and it's granted by you, the homeowner. This boring, dry, legalistic binder is your Excalibur. The board's number one mistake, and your number one opportunity, is that they often ignore or misread their own governing documents. Every HOA is built on a foundation of legal documents: the Declaration of Covenants, Conditions and Restrictions (CC and RS), the bylaws and the rules and regulations. The board's authority begins and ends with what's written here. If an action isn't authorized here, it's not authorized. Period. My first move wasn't to yell. It was to study. I read every page. I highlighted 2 things. 1. The approval process. My document said architectural changes needed approval, but defined them as permanent structural additions. A portable prefab playset? Not mentioned. 2. The amendment process. It outlined exactly how rules could be changed, requiring a homeowner vote. The board couldn't just decide they didn't like something. Your action step: get your documents. Request them in writing. Read them like your freedom depends on it. Because in your neighborhood it kinda does. Emotions don't win fights. Evidence does. You must become a documenting machine. Document the violation. Photos, videos with dates. Document all communication. Every email, every letter. If you have a phone call, follow up with an email summarizing what was said. Per our conversation today, you stated that. Document selective enforcement. This is your gold mine. Photograph every other house with a similar violation. Is there a house with an unapproved fence? A boat in a driveway against the rules? Get the evidence. This proves bias and undermines their entire position. I created a timeline and an evidence binder. It wasn't just about my playset anymore, it was about proving a pattern of arbitrary governance. The board wants you isolated. They want this to be you versus them. Your job is to turn it into the community versus a runaway board. I started talking to my neighbors. Not angrily but curiously. Hey, did you ever have an issue with the HOA? The stories poured out. The guy fined for a grill on his patio. The family harassed about holiday decorations. The quiet bias that everyone saw but no one formally challenged. This is when I learned about petitions. If you have a legitimate grievance and others agree, a formal petition shows the board this isn't one disgruntled owner. It's a community demand for change. Never start with your biggest weapon. Escalate calmly and deliberately. This shows you're reasonable and forces them to either be reasonable or expose their bad faith. Level 1, the formal written inquiry. I sent a certified letter to the board and property manager. I attached my evidence, cited the specific sections of the CC and RS, and politely asked for clarification on how my playset violated a written, established rule. I gave them a 30-day window to respond in writing. Level 2, the official appeal. They dismissed my letter. So, I filed a formal appeal of the fine as outlined in the bylaws. I requested a hearing before the full board. This is your right, use it. Level 3, the public hearing. This is where you bring your evidence binder. You speak calmly, factually. You present your case. Here is the rule. Here is my property. Here are 5 other properties with similar, unpenalized features. This is selective enforcement. You force them to answer on the record in front of other homeowners. My board doubled down. They ignored their own rules, my evidence, everything. So, I moved to the step that changes the game entirely. I consulted with an attorney specializing in HOA law. This doesn't mean you're automatically suing. It often means paying for a 1-hour consultation and having them send a letter on legal letterhead. A good lawyer will review your documents and evidence and point out where the board is vulnerable. Likely breach of fiduciary duty, acting outside their scope of authority, or discriminatory enforcement. When that letter arrived, the tone changed overnight. Suddenly, they were willing to revisit the issue. The daily fines were put on hold. You have 2 ultimate weapons. The first is the one they fear most: litigation. It's expensive and exhausting. But sometimes it's the only way. My attorney was ready. We had a solid case for arbitrary enforcement. But the second weapon is more powerful, more permanent, and more poetic: the vote. HOAs are, in theory, democracies. Board members are elected. Bylaws can be amended. I realized my real victory wouldn't be just saving my playset, it would be changing the system. I used the community network I'd built. I shared my evidence, not as a complainer, but as a concerned neighbor, showing how the board's actions were exposing everyone to liability and lowering property values. I found a slate of reasonable, professional neighbors to run for the board. At the next annual meeting, we had a record turnout. We voted out the old president and 2 entrenched board members. We passed an amendment to clarify architectural rules and create a fair appeals committee. My playset? It stayed. The fines were rescinded. But more importantly, the neighborhood got its voice back. Your HOA is not a government. It's a corporation you live in, and you are a shareholder. Your board are supposed to be stewards, not tyrants. They bank on your apathy, your fear, your desire to avoid conflict. Your power comes from 1. Knowing your documents better than they do. 2. Documenting everything. 3. Building community support. 4. Escalating strategically and professionally. 5. Using your vote to reclaim your home. You are not powerless. You have rights. You have recourse. And when you stand up, armed with knowledge and the truth, you will find that the seemingly invincible HOA can be very, very wrong. Resources for you. Your state's HOA Act. Search your State Plan Community Act or HOA statutes. Community Associations Institute, CAI, a resource for both homeowners and boards. Find a specialist attorney. Look for HOA law or community association law. Like and subscribe for more real-world strategies to take back your control. Comment below. What's your HOA story? What are you fighting?